What up, fellow drummers? It's Jeremy Donson. You guys, I'm sure, have seen Dylan. He's done some new videos with us, and if you haven't, definitely check him out. He's doing a lot of videos and shorts, and adding them to the membership where we do full song breakdowns as well. Dylan was my student back in when 2015.
2015, yeah. So 2015, I was at my local fair and I saw the legend himself at a booth. And I was like, drum booth. I like drums. I'm going to go over there and say hi. And then the rest is kind of history.
Very, very rare do I ask somebody like, hey, do you want to learn how to teach? And with him, it was just like, he was really natural at it. And I was like, dude, let me train you how to teach. So I want to say our first week of lessons, you learned Inner Sandman in a week.
Yeah, no.
Right?
And I had it on a Rock Band kit.
Crazy.
So it was fun.
I can honestly only think of maybe one other student, maybe one or two other students that was a beginner that's like, hey, let's learn Sandman. It's week 2. You're like, hey, I got it done. And you're a beginner. You know, like that was just incredible to me. So I was like, you got something special, man. That's really very, very special gifting for sure. So we went from lessons to me offering him basically an associate teacher position with me, and you accepted. And I taught you for what, 2 years, I want to say, how to teach. Any of you drummers out there who play a lot and have also tried to teach friends, I think you can quickly see, man, it's way harder to teach you. Just do this, you know what I mean? And you show them what to do, but it's like, how do I break this down, man? Like, there's 3 different kinds of drummers in the world. There's great drummers, never should be a teacher. There's great teachers and never really a great drummer. They can play, they're good. And then there's great teachers, great drummers. And that's very, very, very hard to find that. I ask his students feedback all the time. I'm like, hey, so how do you like the lessons with Dylan? And most commonly, the response I get is, I can tell he was trained by you because he teaches the same way you do. So it's really, really good. I'm very proud of what you've done, man. Really proud. But I just wanted to introduce Dylan and get to know us a little bit more on a personal level. It's hard to kind of let the personality come out when you're teaching because I'm like in focus mode. You know what I'm saying? A couple of topics that would be fun to talk about, I think. What got you into drumming?
If you've ever played Rock Band, like those instruments they give you, I started out with like the guitar, and then I was like, this isn't really my thing. But
dude, I had a student that was great at Rock Band, and then when I had him try it in real life, he was like, oh my gosh, I can't do that. I'm vice versa. Like Tom Sawyer or something on drums can play it fine, and then a Rock Band, I'm like, I stink. I'm not any good at this. So that's very impressive, Rock Band. I mean, I can do it, but it's so different. It's the same, quote unquote, but it's not. It's different.
With drums, it's really, really, it's honestly shocking how similar some of those songs are mapped out.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it is like you still have to do it to hit the notes. So I feel like that really like boosted my drumming career, if that makes sense, because I already had like a pretty good handle on some of those songs and beats. Like I played all of those on Expert, and I was like, I need more.
I think it's really the intricate details of what made those drummers special and signature drummers is what was missing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there was a lot missing.
Because like if think about it, if every drummer does the same thing, well, how are you going to be a signature drummer? You know what I'm saying? So Rock Band was good for like the core of the beat, like, you know, I don't know, let's take Sandman, for example, because we were talking about it, you know, bass and snare and bass and snare. And, but the intricate parts, the really technical parts that made them a signature drummer and stand out from other drummers is the very part that either was too hard for them to transcribe fully or just wasn't put in there for whatever other reason.
And
you
some
know?
of it just wasn't like right in general. Like I could even tell, like not knowing anything, like this isn't right. Like some of those songs are really, really well mapped out, and then some of them are just missing like entire sections.
But it's fun. So, like it's still a really
it was
fun
great.
game.
No, it was awesome. Like it really helped me out. Like just to get into it and start out, that was all I needed really. So
I think the craziest thing is how sheet music is drawn. Like that shocked me because when I started making videos, I forget what song it was that I had started seeing, you know, like, oh my gosh, the sheet music is not right. But I had listened to the song and I was like, is that a high tom or a mid tom? Because sometimes that's hard to distinguish which tom it is. And drummers, tune their toms differently and different types of drum sets and different wood. So the tones are always different. You got to match it with what's going on in the song. But so I looked up some sheet music and there was like no tom. And I'm like, well, that's definitely not right. There's definitely a tom here. So I was very, very shocked how there was no very, very rare to find accurate sheet music. So that's actually a good topic to see what you think about. Like, how would you explain how you learned how to tell what the drummer's doing? Because I think personally the number one biggest problem for drummers everywhere is you don't know what the drummer's doing. The second problem is you don't know how to do it. And the third problem is, even if you do know how, you don't have the techniques required to be able to do it. So those are really the three big hiccups. Tell me if you agree, but I think those are the three biggest.
Especially like those really like niche songs, because sometimes there just isn't sheet music for them. But there are videos of drummers that, like, when they're playing it live, and all you have to do is just watch them. So if you can watch those live recordings of those drummers playing it for shows or just like in studio session.
Sometimes those versions are different because they play it 10,000 times and they get bored. So the live version could be different. That is a good way.
Yeah, it's kind of like these
and
little
I've done that too.
Bits and pieces. Like here's this, here's that, and you just kind of figure out like, oh, it's in this realm of doing this. So
gives you a good idea.
Yeah, and then from there, just learning like different pitches of like what toms are like what, and which one is the snare, which one is the bass. The big ones that I do is I always listen for whatever cymbal he's playing on, when he's kicking the bass, and when the snare's hitting. Because those are the three easiest to know and listen out for.
Identify the core.
Yeah. And then everything else is just kind of extra at that point. Because, I mean, like we said, they change it like 10,000 times. So that one studio version that they recorded and put out could be that could be that one time he played it that way, and the rest of them is like, no, I want to play it this way now. And he just changes it completely.
I look at it like an onion, right? So you have many layers in an onion, but you have your snare line or a snare layer, you have your bass layer, and then you have your cymbal layer, whatever your timekeeper is, and then you kind of go from there as far as like your tom layer and your splash and china and witch crash and all that kind of stuff. But there's layers among them too. There's like sub-layers. So like, for example, okay, he's hitting a snare. Is it a flam? Is it an accent? Is it a ghost note? What is he doing? Is it a rim shot? Hi-hat, is it heavy? Is it a drag? Is it a chick? And what exactly is happening within that one layer? So when you really dive in, you have to teach your ear how to listen to one piece of it. When you did the recent video you did, in that there's some parts where you have to really listen closely to the things that are happening there. And it's amazing how clear it can be when you listen to one thing. Like, because when you listen to it overall, you can listen to it overall and you can hear the core beat. But then when you dissect it and you're like, let's listen to the hi-hat, you'll hear things that you would have missed if you don't otherwise do it.
Yeah.
And I actually checked it because I heard one thing. I'm like, man, is that what he did? That's interesting. And I listened to it and that's what he did. Yeah. So that was good. But that's a very, very valuable skill to have, is listening to a song and telling what the drummer does, And I think a lot of people don't realize that if you listen to the official music video or the Spotify main version or, the lyric version, that there's going to be those little differences. Like even Neil Peart did that.
They will not play that song the same way ever. Like, just imagine if you were on stage and they told you, okay, you get to play this song, you have to play it 100% correct every time, and you can't change it. Well, that's just not like in the spirit of like.
You get old after a while. I think.
Yeah, that's just not in the spirit of like being creative and being a drummer, because you want to be able to express yourself. So I really think that every night that they go out to play, it could be like Rush, or it could, whether it's like Rush or Tool or just any band really, that those drummers need that way to express themselves on like a nightly basis, or even just from like 5 minutes to the next 5 minutes, it's different because they feel a different way. Yeah, that's why I feel like a lot of those changes happen, because it's just like, I don't feel like playing this. I feel this today. So they play that.
Mhm.
That's as simple as it is.